Have you ever noticed how some people feel like summer storms? Warm, magnetic, laughing one minute, quiet the next. If you've met someone born in July, you probably know what I mean. They walk into a room softly, but somehow the energy shifts. They're not the loudest, not always the most obvious, but you feel them. There's depth there, like the ocean in late summer, calm on the surface, currents underneath. Maybe you are one of them. Maybe you've been told you're too sensitive, or hard to read, or that you care too much, remember too much, feel too much. And maybe you've also been the strong one, the safe one, the one people lean on without asking how you're holding up. There's something quietly complex about July-born souls. Let's talk about it. Not in stereotypes, not in horoscopes, but in patterns. In psychology, in the subtle ways personality takes shape. First, let's ground this in something real. Studies on seasonality and personality have found subtle, but consistent patterns in mood and temperament across birth months. Researchers like Michael Terman have explored how light exposure influences circadian rhythms and emotional regulation. More daylight in early infancy can shape cycles, stress response, even baseline mood. July babies enter a world saturated in sunlight, long days, social energy, movement. But here's the interesting part. Increased light exposure in infancy has been associated with higher emotional intensity later in life. Not instability, intensity. Have you ever felt things in high definition? Joy that makes your chest expand. Sadness that lingers like humidity. Nostalgia that hits without warning. Many July-born individuals report exactly that. They don't skim across emotions. They swim in them, and yet, paradoxically, they often appear composed. Why? Because emotional intensity doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like deep processing, thoughtful pauses, long silences before answering. July-born people often reflect before reacting. That's not weakness. That's regulation, learned early. Now let's talk about attachment. Midsummer. Births statistically coincide with higher rates of secure attachment patterns in Western countries, possibly due to environmental factors like increased parental presence during summer months, more flexible schedules, communal gatherings, outdoor bonding. While not deterministic, early relational warmth can wire the nervous system toward trust. This might explain why July-born individuals often value home deeply. Home not as a house, but as a feeling. They create emotional climates. They remember birthdays. They check in. They cook extra food, just in case. They're the friend who texts, "Did you get home safe?" But here's the nuance. The same people who crave emotional security can also retreat unexpectedly. Ever noticed how someone warm can suddenly go quiet? That's not inconsistency. That's protection. People born in July often oscillate between openness and withdrawal. Psychologically, this can resemble what researchers call high relational investment with periodic emotional recalibration. In plain terms, they give deeply. Then they need space to refill. If you're July-born, how many times have you said, "I'm fine," when what you meant was, "I'm overwhelmed, but I don't want to burden you"? There's another pattern worth exploring: memory. A 2015 study in cognition and emotion suggests individuals with higher emotional sensitivity encode autobiographical memories more vividly. July-born individuals frequently describe remembering conversations from years ago. The exact tone, the look on someone's face, the shift in energy. That memory depth can be beautiful. It also means they don't forget how you made them feel, not in a vindictive way, not in a data-collecting way. Their brain keeps emotional receipts, not to attack, but to understand. Now let's examine leadership. Contrary to stereotypes that equate leadership with dominance, July-born personalities often lead relationally. Research on prosocial leadership, see work by Adam Grant, shows that individuals high in empathy and communal orientation foster stronger long-term team cohesion. July-born individuals often influence quietly. They don't need the spotlight. But when things fall apart, they're steady. When conflict erupts, they mediate. When someone feels left out, they notice. Have you ever been the glue in a group without meaning to be? That's a July trait, but let's not romanticize. There's a shadow side. Emotional depth can slide into overthinking. Strong attachment to home can become difficulty letting go. Relational loyalty can turn into staying too long in situations that no longer fit. Psychologist Elaine Aron, known for her work on highly sensitive persons, HSP, notes that sensitivity is not fragility, it's responsiveness. July-born individuals often score high on traits associated with sensory and emotional responsiveness. This means they detect shifts early, a partner pulling away, a friend growing distant, a workplace becoming toxic. They sense it before it's obvious. The gift? Early awareness. The cost? Early anxiety. Have you ever prepared for loss before it actually happened? That's the July nervous system trying to protect you. Now let's talk ambition. People born in July often possess what looks like calm determination. Not explosive drive, but sustained effort. Research on Grit by Angela Duckworth suggests that perseverance combined with emotional meaning predicts long-term achievement. July-born individuals rarely chase success for status alone. It has to feel aligned. It has to mean something. They won't stay in a job that pays well but feels empty forever. They won't stay in relationships that lack emotional reciprocity indefinitely. They endure, but not mindlessly. And here's something fascinating. Season of birth studies in European cohorts have found slight correlations between summer births and elevated baseline optimism. Not blind positivity, but future orientation. Hope. With memory, they remember pain, but they also remember surviving it. That combination creates resilience. Not loud resilience, quiet resilience. Now let's look at conflict. July-born individuals often dislike confrontation, but not because they're weak, because they understand emotional cost. They calculate impact. They consider timing, but when pushed too far, they become surprisingly firm. There's a protective instinct there, toward loved ones, toward personal boundaries, toward dignity. It's like the ocean again, mostly calm, but capable of waves. Another overlooked trait, nostalgia. Mid-year birthdays psychologically position July-born individuals at a symbolic midpoint. Research in temporal landmarks theory, see Katie Milkman, suggests people born near midpoints of the calendar often engage more in life reflection and reset behavior. July-born people frequently evaluate their lives in chapters. Am I where I thought I'd be? Is this still aligned with who I'm becoming? They don't drift unconsciously for long. They reassess, and yes, sometimes that makes them restless, but restlessness can be growth trying to happen. Finally, let's address identity. People born in July often hold contradictions comfortably. Soft, but strong. Sentimental, but strategic. Home-loving, but independent. Psychologically, this reflects integrative complexity, the ability to hold opposing traits without internal collapse. Studies in personality science show that individuals high in integrative complexity adapt better to stress and social diversity. July-born individuals often live in nuance. They understand that love can be deep and boundaries necessary. That loyalty doesn't require self-erasure. That ambition doesn't cancel tenderness. If you're July-born, maybe you felt misunderstood, too emotional for some rooms, too reserved for others, but perhaps that's because you weren't built for extremes. You were built for balance, for emotional Ecosystems for holding space, for remembering, for nurturing, for recalibrating, and for starting again when necessary. Maybe being born in July isn't about astrology at all. Maybe it's about light and memory, warmth and depth, exposure and reflection. Maybe it's about entering the world in a season that stretches the days long enough for feelings to linger. July-born people are like late summer evenings, golden but thoughtful, warm but aware that seasons shift. They carry both celebration and preparation in the same breath. They are not dramatic. They are dimensional, not fragile. Attuned, not inconsistent. Cyclical, if you see yourself in this, in the emotional memory, the quiet strength, the oscillation between closeness and solitude. Maybe there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you were shaped by light, wired for depth, and designed for meaningful connection. And if this resonated, stay curious. There's always more to understand about how timing, temperament, and experience intertwined. Sometimes, psychology isn't about labels, it's about recognition.